I paid $33,500 for this Datsun 240Z behind me, and it was only until after I took delivery that I realized that this car has 200,000 miles. Now, I might be an idiot, but at least I'm a happy idiot with a Datsun. If you watched the previous episode, you know that we took this car over from Chad and his family, who's owned this 240Z since 1975. And over the last 50 years, it's collected at least 200,000 miles, which is something I didn't know until I got this Bible of papers. Collectively, across my 20 plus cars that I've built or owned, I've never, ever driven something as much as Chad and his family have. But the car isn't stock anymore, clearly. And that, my friend, was halfway from work done 10 years ago and work we did with a shop that you may have heard of before, Driver Motorsports. When you and I bought the car, we had something that had an engine, not connected to anything, 4 pallets of parts, and a history that on paper had been worked on for at least the last 5.5 years or so. And I had to make a call. Do I take it all at once and start putting things together myself, or do we use Driver Motorsports to get some things done? And I honestly thought that I could do it all until I got this video from Devin.
What's going on, everybody? Devin from Driver Motorsports here. I am sure that Alex has filled you guys in on what we're doing with this car, so I'm not going to go too deep on the details, but we are going to fix a few things while it is here with us. So we got to do some rust repair, got to do some wiring, got to do a few other bits, but let's dig into it and see exactly what we're doing in it. All right, because this car is 54 years old, we've got a bunch of rust repair to do. So I've already done a few bits a few years ago. The floor pans have been replaced. The frame rails underneath have been replaced. There's still a few things that need to be replaced, like the battery tray was rusted out. It's a very common place on these, but the tub needs to be replaced, so we'll work on that today. And then if you follow me, somebody's past life drilled holes through here underneath the battery tray. And because it cuts into these like dimples, it's going to be really tricky and it won't look good if I were to just make filler panels right there. And there's some rust up here. So we're going to go ahead, cut this all the way out. And I've got a replacement panel that has these dimples in it. That way it's proper and it looks good. It doesn't look weird on these bottom edges. So that's another thing we have to do. And then as you can see, where the old hood latch was, it was rotted away. So we've got to replace this whole center of the firewall essentially. And then I've also got to replace in here at the cowl. It's basically rotted away where the wiper motor bolts in. So, all right guys, so this is the panel that I just showed you where the holes are cut out and it's a little rotted over here. So what I'm about to do is mark out where I need to cut, but what I'm gonna do is drill a hole from this side so that I know my boundaries on the other side. So I don't want to cut out these tabs because they place the heater core in the glove box and the whole dash area. So these I want to leave, but I need to cut out, you know, down to here or so. So I'll drill my holes and we'll start cutting. When you do this, you want to make sure it's flush and you don't have any overlap. Most people mess up when they have the overlap because then you can tell that this has been a replacement panel. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that you cannot tell that this thing has been replaced once it's painted. So you've got to be really careful, take your time, trim it in. And now what I'll do is I'm going to tack it and then move to somewhere else, tack it. All right, so apparently my camera ran out of storage and I missed completely completing this for you guys. So this is what it looks like completed. There's a few areas that I couldn't quite get to, like that back corner. I'm gonna continue to mess with that, but I went ahead, whipped up this little filler for that half circle down there. Let's go ahead and put that in. And this is pretty dang close to being flush and smooth, but the body guy will of course have to skim that and body work it to make it look perfect. This firewall is not perfectly flat anyways. All of these little spot welds makes the firewall really wavy, but turned out pretty good. Let's go ahead and get this in.
I had already put in a massive part order right before this moment, and to be honest, it reaffirmed my own advice to all of you. Don't ever buy someone else's project car. Now, Nissan rusts faster than my average Tarkov Rage experience. I've never played, but I assume I wouldn't last more than 5 minutes. And this one was especially painful. Rust had found its way all the way into the nervous system of this chassis, or in this case, the engine bay. Because of the exposed underside of Datsuns, it's not uncommon for rust to find itself hitting the frame rails and creeping its way up into the shock towers, across to the battery frame, and into the firewall, all of which had occurred on this car.
I can't believe somebody did that. I mean, I can. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
So, I was prepping the car for undercoating, and so I found whoever owned this car in the future, or in the past, they tried to patch rust holes with Bondo and all types of stuff. They used duct tape over here to try to patch these holes, and there's some more Bondo.
That's really deep, Bondo.
Very deep.
Yeah, and like it looked really good because of the way they did it.
They splotched it.
It
looked like the undercoating.
So it was hidden pretty well. And then the more we dug, we found that the quarter panel wasn't even attached.
And it's rivets.
There's rivets put back here on the back panel from the previous body shop. So there's some work that needs to be done. Cam is gonna go ahead and do the undercoating. He started seam sealing stuff up and prepping all the bare metal, but he's gonna go ahead and do the undercoating. He's not gonna do this wheel well. That way I can come in here and do what I need to do. The quarter panels will be taken off. The back roll pan will be taken off, and we have some new inner structure on the way. So it'll be done right. That's the only way to do it. Cam's the one that found it, so I figured he should be the one to explain it. But yeah, I mean, that's crazy. I can't believe somebody did that. I mean, I can. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
And even with the new floor pans we put in, there's no doubt that there's more to find hiding everywhere in this car. But just like any case of while we're in there, it's a good time to shift some weight around in the car to get us to the weight distribution we want. That meant a battery box delete, relocating the brake reservoir, shaving the unnecessary mounts from the engine bay, and then undercoating the entire car to protect it from rusting again, which makes the underside of this car now look brand new. Right now, we're going for a wolves in sheep's clothing kind of look for Gatlinburg, which means our hopes are to make sure that everywhere you can't see, this car looks perfect, and everywhere you can see looks stock, which means after a quick undercoating, it was time to address the wiring harness for our RB26 swap. We went with a Haltech R5. Yes, it's Haltech, not Haltech, or I'll get yelled at. And I went with the R5 because I wanted us to try them out, and the R5 has a power distribution module, a data logger, and dual channel wideband controller, and an ECU element that our tuner has a ton of experience with up here in Wisconsin called Lindgren Supercars, the same place where my S2000 turned into 2,000 pieces. We also took the R5 to college to get a 15-button CAN keypad that we designed into the center console, a 4-port DTM for the CAN hub, and some sensors to keep the single turbo conversion RB26 that we plan to do cool and relaxed. The custom wiring harness we decided to build worked perfectly with this ECU, and we labeled everything. I hate guessing with wiring. wiring, just like I hate when pants grab my thigh hair and I become unglued. Now you're learning a lot about me today. That's just one more thing. And I do love to do wiring. I worked on the pinout for the C4500 build that you've yet to see, and that was my favorite part of this build. But I don't want to leave this car up to chance, which is why I hired Driver Motorsports to help put it all together. Now, what you're looking at here is the culmination of a few hundred more hours that would have been working great with some sort of like UKF dubstep remix from Mode Step or something, but I'll save you from the montage. We won't do that. But Devin and I did work together to figure out how to tie everything that we did in its own individual pieces into actually one fully functioning car. It meant we had to use friends like Vibrant Performance. We spent $1,000 on the piping. Not that impressive in 2025 YouTube years, is it? Well, for me it was. It's what allowed us to weld up the header tank system that we built, the catch can lines, the oil cooler and filter lines, the fuel lines, the turbo lines, and the header tank itself. Now, for the fuel system, we decided to go with a new tank because the old one was crusty and falling apart. There's stuff all over this one. We decided to go with a 16-gallon tank. So fully integrated system from Nuke Performance. We went with Aeromotive regulators and gauges, Nuke fuel rails, and all the little things to mount this into the back of the car. And for the injectors that are going to get all of this fuel, we went with ID 1050s up front. But we did need to do something with the gas door. And most people would just shave this off or do something special with it. We decided that we wanted to upset old people by making people think that it's an electric conversion. It's not. These are the quick connects for our battery that's installed underneath and upside down to make it easy to charge or trickle charge for when the car sits. But what about the engine? That, my friends, is a good question. So what about the engine? Well, we did try to keep it somewhat modest. An RB26DE with a Garrett G30-900, which is a 62mm turbo with an Haltech top mount manifold. We went with an RB25 transmission with a twin disc clutch kick, Tomei gaskets, 262-degree camshaft, some ARP head studs, Manley connecting rods, 87mm CP pistons, an ACL rod and main set, Nitto crank collars, Koyo radiator, JHK rear sump oil pump, and probably one of my favorite bits, which is right here. This had me more excited than anything else. Honestly, it's Datsun, I think it's how to say it, DBW ITB kit for drive-by-wire, which I'm really excited for. We also put PRP alternator kit on it and a PRP full trigger kit. And the best part is that all of this looks incredible, but when the hood is closed, you really can hardly tell it's anything but an old Datsun. Well, outside of the old Willwood 4-pot brake sneaking out from the future Workmeisters that we just picked up. And finally, the suspension. Over the last year and a half of owning this car, I knew that no matter what we did to the engine, we'd have to figure out the suspension geometry and overall design of this 240Z. Now the 240Zs with the inline sixes feel incredible when they're restored, but once you add more power, the only differential that can really handle it, from Datsun at least, is called the R200. I had it in my 1976 Datsun 280Z, and I loved it with my T56. But the suspension was super loose, and the car rolled a ton in the corners. So we fixed that, this car, with a brand called Techno Toy Tuning. Oh, all right. So we did a complete R200 rear differential conversion with a S15 Type R diff and helical limited slip differential. We went with Techno Toy Tuning rear axle shafts and rear axles. We sold a set of 240SX hubs for connecting the wheels to the differential, which was a mess. We changed up, I think, the control arms and tension arms with GTX2 parts, Techno Toy rear lower control arms along with adjustable front and rear camber. And we ended up doing a full evolved conversion kit front and rear, which both have adjustable camber front and back. The last bit we needed to be able to do was we needed to be able to stop the car. So we went with the micro Willwood 4-pot brake kit that have the tiniest pistons I think I've ever seen in my entire life, but it should help us stop a little bit better. Controversially, I do like the 4-lug hub, so we decided to keep it instead of going 5-lug because it's like a style thing for me, and I also don't think we'll ever get big wheels on this car. Don't hit anything again. Ow. And even after a year and a half of working on this thing, pretty much day and night, which you're just learning about now, it still doesn't run. It still needs seats, carpet, the rest of the glass that isn't shattered from shipping, shift knob, the belts need to be put on, and apparently I need another mirror because the car only has one, I'm assuming from the golf course situation. And it also needs a tune. And as of right now, we have 2 weeks to get all of that going. And I'm still not sure what I want to do with the rest of this stuff. I'll show you. Oh. You see, Chad spent a good chunk of change that I ultimately then bought on stuff like this. Like, it's all good stuff. These are fender flares. I probably argue that Datsuns are one of the few cars where I think just over fenders look just right on this, but I'm not so sure I even really want to wide body this car or even add the flares. It seems almost so common, and a part of me would almost rather just keep it stock like it has been for the last 55 years or so. So that's, I guess, what I leave you with. Should we keep it narrow body or should we cut into it to make it wide? Now, if you enjoy this series and you need car parts, your support by buying your car parts at Martini Works would mean the world to me. And if you don't need parts, but you like the video enough to drop a comment, I would hope that you consider subscribing. I need to get to back work on this, and I'll see you in the next episode where we actually get this entire thing put together and ready for its first official dyno test. The number that we're aiming for, I think, is gonna be 600 because we can. Before you even ask, it's because we can. And when we can, we will.